Hi, Liz.
Hey, Madeleine, how are you?
Good, good. Beautiful. So thank you for taking the time to support your fellow students, and hopefully you'll get a lot of benefit out of this conversation as well.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks for having me today. I thought I'd get in my client, myself, like with my beanie and
Yeah,
be super present and myself.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So how can I support you today?
Oh, great question. So I've written down a lot of stuff. So I didn't know did you want me to give you like a full history, or do you want me to just give you like a problem that I'm struggling with at the moment? Or
I don't. Well, let's see how we go. I don't need a full
yeah,
history at the moment.
yeah, okay.
Let's get into a space of whatever is present for you, and if we need any history, then let that come later.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. So what I'm going through at the moment, and it kept coming to me because I'm like, what can I work on with you today? And it's there's a few things. So it's like transitioning from nursing into holistic counselling, like full time, but also like charging like packages instead of half price. As well as what else did I write down? It was all to do with the packaging and the transitioning.
So you are more than halfway through your course, is that right?
Yeah, so I'm doing part-time and I was just a year on the 21st of July. So I was super stoked about that. So I've got 12 months left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. And you work full-time as a nurse?
Actually I work usually at least 2 days a week, but sometimes 4. And that sort of pays for like the rent, and it looks good to the bank for a house as well. So it's got its positives. And I think because I did the 3-year degree, I put all of that effort and time that I'm like, it is good, but I've been reflecting lately and I'm like, is this the environment that I want to stay in? Yeah.
So what makes you feel like it might not be the environment you want to be in?
That's a good question. So random, I don't know why I'm crying. I feel like I can't support people like I want to in the hospital, like fully. So like there's like systems and this is how it is, whereas I could see potentially what I could do like outside of the hospital system to help like anyone that needed it. But it's also the fear of letting go of that safety. So yeah.
Yeah. And I can imagine that it would be, at least most of the time, a very rewarding profession to be in.
Yeah, it's rewarding. And I do help people, like I utilize the counselling if they need it or want it. And a lot of people have a lot of breakthroughs and they're like, thank you so much. So I am doing what I can do. But I feel like I could do so much more.
So are you offering counselling to them or do you refer them?
Some of them I refer, and some of them actually ask for counselling and stuff like that. Yeah. So.
And do you then take them into your private practice, or are you allowed to do that when you're working? How does that work?
It has to be separately type of thing, because we're like with all the legal stuff. Yeah. So I meant to actually refer everyone on. So I do ask, like, is it okay if I like help you here today? Because some people come in crying or they're angry. So I do ask their consent, and I just do what I can with that half an hour that I have with them. Yeah.
Beautiful. So in what area are you nursing? Who do you look after?
So at the moment, I'm actually like in the swab clinic for COVID-19. So 2 days a week. So when it's not busy, I have the time to listen to them, because they're not just coming in. Well, most of them come in for a swab, but some of them actually come in and tell me other things that are happening just randomly. I'll just be silent and then things come out. So I'll have, like I have up from 5 years old to, like, I don't know what my oldest patient was, probably in their 80s or 90s. So I get a mix. So I enjoy that I get to have that time and talk to them. So there are positives to it. Yeah.
Spoken like a true helper, right? Someone that just shows up, and then people share their innermost desires and fears, etc.
Yeah, quite literally.
Do you find that happens a lot to you?
Yes, all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Like a natural counselor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So really, if you think about it, it's almost like, you know, having a private practice or what you're doing now.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, it's the same. It's just wordings. It's just, there's a few physical shifts that needs to happen, a few, you know, bits and pieces that you need to organize, but the energy of it, there's a lot of similarities. Can you feel that? That's what I feel. Can you feel that?
I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's interesting, right? Because sometimes when we're about to embark on something new, like you're just about to embark on becoming a holistic counselor, and you're on that path, sometimes we forget that, you know, we think that it's very, very different to what we used to do, right? But very often, or most of the time, it's actually not. There's a lot, it's just like a transition that you're moving into something else, but it's the same it's the same energy, it's the same feel.
Yeah, it actually is, now that you say that. Because it's like the kids come in crying or angry or not talking, depending on, like, and I don't know how it happens, but we end up doing the swab fine, and we'll have a laugh at the end of it, or like with the parents, and it's just, I'm able to help them to express emotion, which I really enjoy. And then the angry people come in, like the adults, and just being able to just listen to them, and I'm like this is similar to counselling, but
so it's almost like you're already taking another step towards that goal that you have of working as a holistic counselor full time. Is that what you're wanting to do? Just checking in. Is that what you want? Is that where you see yourself, or do you see yourself?
That's where I see myself, but I also think, realistically, I think I only need to work 2 weeks a year to keep my registration. So, and the only area that I see myself in is like pediatrics and NICU, like anything child-friendly health. That would be the only area that I would stay in nursing for, if I'm completely honest, because I've worked in all the different areas that, I don't know, I just feel like that would be. But then I'm like, I know that sometimes you just need to take a risk, let go of the past, and then like jump into the new area. So I'm sort of like,
the new area of, you mean the new area of becoming a holistic counselor? Is that what you mean?
And healer, like within that, like doing Reiki and stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm going to challenge you there. Do you have to?
No, I don't have to. Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be any less good at becoming a holistic counselor just because you're doing some nursing. Or it doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't have to mean that you're not going to be all in creating a private practice. I think it's actually a pretty smart move.
That's nice to hear, because when I talk to other coaches or when I compare myself to other like counselors and healers, I'm like, they're all about like just making 100K or like $1 million a year. And I know I've spoken to you about this before. And when I see them, I'm like, I am happy for them genuinely, but I'm like, how do they just commit to one thing? Like I actually do 5 or 10 things at once. I'm reading 4 books at the moment. Like I like juggling. Yeah. Like I like having different things that stimulate my brain in a different way. Yeah.
And that is actually maybe part of your talent, part of your, you know, part of what you can help and give others. The fact that you can do 2 things at the same time, the fact that you can hold 2 things. It doesn't, the problem only lies when we think we have to do everything perfectly and have to hold everything, and everything have to be just right. Or we think we have to put all our attention on everything at the same time. That's when we exhaust ourselves. But when we allow it to be a flow in between and say, yeah, I'm going to create a wholeness, and that's going to be my 100%, not 100% here and 100% here. This is going to be 100%.
Yeah, okay. That's a good way of looking at it. Sorry, I set my alarm way too early. 15 minutes early. So I guess in saying that, the other thing I was thinking was the environment, like the people that I'm hanging around. You know how they say you should like the people you hang around, you become. And it came to me this week or last week, sorry, and I'm like, oh, maybe if I just hang around like counselors all day and healers, that would like be more uplifting. But then I guess I'd miss out on that contrast, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is that there's a part of you that thrives on variety.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And if you're then sort of spending your time with similar people, you're going to get less of that variety, which kind of cause you to not feel as vibrant and alive.
Yeah. I resonate with what you just said. I do like variety, definitely. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. You know, the cool thing with life and the rest of your life is that you can create it in any way you want.
Yeah.
Even to the point where you don't have to create a private practice where you only work 24/7 with clients. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that to even call yourself a holistic counselor. You can do that, and then you can do your nursing if that's what you want to do. And if you change your mind in 2 years, then you can do that too.
Yeah. I like that way of doing it, because with my nursing, it's like there's always work, and I've got an app and I just pick for 6 months ahead of time, these are the days I want, or I take it off the night before and there's no questions if I need to go overseas or go on a holiday. It's so versatile and adaptable. And I get sent to 10 different hospitals. So I know people by name, they know me by name. So I like that aspect of it, where I don't know what I'm going into. So it could be someone that's dying, a terminally ill, palliative person, someone that's lost a loved one, or it could be like a baby or a child or a mum and a dad. It could be anyone. So that's sort of what I love about it, is it's spontaneous. Like you just rock up and then there's your patient for the shift.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing there is that you are very good at in moments where it really counts, where people are in a situation where a lot of people would kind of, be a deer in the headlights and not know what to do. You're very good in those stressful situations of keeping your calm, keeping balance, and you actually thrive in those situations. That's a great skill as a holistic counselor too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To be able to hold space for someone that is in a stressful state and keep the calm and allow them to be in that space.
I feel that in my heart chakra, actually. That's good. Feels good. Yeah.
Well, that's a skill. That's a skill you have.
I like it how you say that. It's a skill. So it's not, I don't feel like I'm now just this or just that. I'm sort of all of that. Yeah.
And I would encourage you to actually have a look at that for yourself. Just have a really good think about those kind of things. When it comes to, you don't have to, you can sit and journal about it if you want to, but even look at something like nursing, when you're nursing, what are the things I really like?
Yeah.
What are the things I really thrive on? Like you've just told me something, right? And look into that and go, wow, I'm really good at it. And really look at those things that you're really, that pops up, and realizing that you're really, that's those things that you're really good at.
Like the zone of genius that you talk about, like that we all have. It's like a zone of genius to be able to talk to different types of people from all walks of life. Like someone came in a few weeks ago with confidentiality, talking to me about pot when my manager was outside, and I just acted normal. Like it's just like random things that people say where you just you know what I mean.
And that's that you're touching on another skill here, because what I'm hearing you saying is because of your liking, because you like variety, you end up working with a lot of different people and having lots of different types of people in your life, which means that you've learned to communicate with lots of different types of people and find mutual ground and connect with them really deeply.
Yes, that's actually true.
That's another skill that you have, right? That's really cool. Which kind of makes me think, and I can relate to this. This is probably why I understand it. Is that maybe when you're focusing on your private practice, maybe having one particular niche, it might not be beneficial for you.
No, because I attract different types. Like at the moment, I've got a paying client, and I may have 3 more, but I just haven't responded to messages or calls yet because I am with pricing. But confidentiality again, but she's a young girl from me 10 years ago. So everything she's saying, I don't get triggered or reacting, but I just think in my head when she's talking, I'm like, oh, that was me 10 years ago. But then I just keep listening. It's really, really cool. But then I'll have older women and then I'll have men as well. And it's just like a whole mix.
So instead of kind of looking at niching yourself, it might be much more beneficial for you to start looking into those little skills that you have, those little talents that you actually own already. Those are tools. Those are ways. Once you figure that out, those are things that you can actually talk about. As in, you can talk about these things so that people start to understand who you are. Right. And because of that, people will connect with you, and that's why they want to work with you. Right. And they'll have lots of different problems that they come with. It's not about a particular problem that you're really good at solving. You've got all these skills, personal skills, and people connect to that and go, yes, I feel like I connect with her. I would like that kind of support.
That sounds awesome. I like how you said that. That answers that question. I think I've been writing dot points. I didn't for the first 15 minutes because I was like really, but I always have a pen because I'm like, oh shit, that was such a good word. But I was really, really present for that first 15. I'm like, crazy. So
totally fine to write things down.
yeah.
Not a problem. So how are you feeling right now? Just checking in.
Yeah, I feel good. I'm glad that I cried. Like, I was trying to control it because I have this thing with control, which I mentioned on the weekend to everyone. Like, I'll get vulnerable or a bit teary, but then I'll hold it back, which is probably trust. I trust you. It's not that I don't trust other people, but it usually takes a little bit of time. Yeah, so I feel good because I was able to release that, and I just blocked out that people will watch. I just want to be super present, like that this is like a one-on-one session and I value it. So I feel good.
Good. So tuning back into our session here.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that's coming up for you?
Probably. So the other thing that's come up is clients sort of telling me on the day of their appointment, either they can't come or they're not coming to appointments. So this was pro bonos, but as well as paying clients. So I have come up with a strategy, and I spoke to the client about it at the end of our paid session last night. That was a COVID safe face-to-face, because this particular client likes face-to-face because they do everything on Zoom. So yeah, I did discuss and they were fine with it. And I was frightened to speak up about it. Like, I'm like, oh no, what are they going to think? But this particular client was fine. She's like, oh, I completely understand and respect that. Like I see where you're coming from. So what I said was that I'm going to, like, if people don't tell me at least the day before, there'll be like a 30% fee. So $30 or $50 for the ones that pay the $150 versus the $100 an hour. And she was fine. And I was scared in my head thinking, oh, what's she going to think? But I was worried about nothing. She's like, yes, this is your business. This is your livelihood. It won't happen again. Like, I'll make all the appointments. And it was just by having that, me saying that. Yeah. So I just wanted to, I guess, like, is there any strategies or perhaps I needed to communicate that again in the beginning? Because I did say in the beginning, please give me 24 hours notice, and it's in the contract. And I give reminder messages if they want. So I do ask each client. But again, it was like 3 or 4, well, a couple of times where it happened. But yeah. So I'm hoping that this works now.
Well, yeah. It sounds like you've already worked it out.
Yeah.
And it all kind of, it feels like it all comes down to boundaries and setting boundaries. If we're not clear on our own boundaries, our clients will feel into that, and they'll also not show up as powerfully. So it's just a matter of us showing up and setting those boundaries, and be curious around how we feel when we set those boundaries. I think I heard you say, oh, I was a bit weird, I was a bit worried. That's okay. Okay, interesting. That probably means that I wasn't that I was obviously unclear on my boundaries because I was worried about what they were going to think about it, which is fine. That's okay, right? So we can feel into that when we set those boundaries. So I think you've really already worked it out. I think that's the whole thing. And maybe have a look into that in a little bit more if there's any more boundaries you need to set. But I think that's a very clear boundaries. A certain percentage is being charged for no show. It helps them to show up. And at the end of the day, you got to remember, when you do that, it's not really about, we're not taking money off our client. We're actually helping our client to show up, because we don't want our client to pay that $30 or whatever it is and not come. We really don't actually want that money. We want them to come to get the transformation. That's what we want. So we're just helping them to get there. That's what we're doing. That's why that.
Helping them to get there.
That's it. We've got to do that. That's why paying in advance is so powerful, because we're helping them to show up.
Yeah, she does pay in advance. So, and that was a good step, because some of the other ones were paying after. And then I thought, oh, I liked how you said just pay for the sessions like in your videos. So I tried that, and that's a great strategy. And it worked, and they're all fine with it. And then we don't have to think about that because it's already been done. They've paid before. But the other problem was it went overtime by like almost a whole hour, like an extra hour. And normally we're only like, we're on time. And this is like our 5th or 6th session. So normally we finish on time, and I set alarms and everything 15 minutes before and then an hour. So I thought I might not set an alarm this time. I might just put a clock in the room and just pay attention to the clock.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Curious, did that happen? Did the client cancel one time off before, and then you had a long session? Was it that funny cancellation, and then was it that session after that ran over, or is it always running over time? Or
no, it was the first time with this client that it ran over time that long, and it was after she cancelled like on the day last week and then rescheduled it again for this week or something like that, it went over. And I'm like,
okay,
I didn't know.
So now I'm curious.
Yeah.
So now I'm just a little bit curious, just around boundaries again, because what can happen is, I know that you'd said to her, look, I need to charge for an extra. And what can happen sometimes is we just overdo it a little. So now I'm going to over deliver, because now I feel like I've stood up a little bit too much. So I'm not really quite sure if I'm okay to stand my ground, or if I should, so I'm just going to over deliver.
Yeah, I feel like it was that. And also I actually said about the fee at the end of it, at the end of that extra hour. So it does come back to boundaries.
Yeah.
So, and I guess it was because I didn't set the boundaries at the start with the fee until it happened 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, okay, well, we need to do something. It happened the once where it was on the day, but it kept happening like the day before, I can't come. And I'm like, oh no, like, so it's boundaries.
Yes, it still falls into the boundaries, right? So setting those boundaries for yourself of the fee not only is going to help your client to show up, it's actually going to, once you get comfortable, it's going to help you to practice keeping time as well, right? To remember that there's no need to over deliver because I am setting these boundaries, right? So just feel into that and be just curious around what how you're doing. Help yourself by putting that clock on the wall. Remind yourself that the work is done, right? After an hour, the work is done.
Yeah, I find that difficult, and it felt a bit uncomfortable. Like it's truth, and I resonate with the truth, but I felt a bit uncomfortable, like, oh no. But it comes back, I think, to like, I like to give as much as I can, and I think it probably just comes back to my self-worth. Like, I think, have I done enough for this person in a session? Like, even though they give me the insights, I'm like, have I done enough for them?
Yeah.
Like, in this hour? And then how do I stop them from talking when they then talk? Do I say, oh, well, we've hit the hour? Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. And also, because you're at the beginning of your journey, you will get better at that. I promise you, it will get better. But I think just even 10 minutes before you finish, because you've got the clock there, 10 or 15 minutes, you can maybe say, okay, wrapping up, or what are your insights for the session so far? And then you can have that sort of wrap up of the last 15 minutes, so you're not sort of 10 minutes before you end, the client comes with a new thing, and you're saying, well, that's maybe a thing for next time that we need to talk about. However, what about now? How are you feeling now? And go back to what you've just done. So you kind of use that last bit of time to wrap up, to connect, to get them to reflect on what's been happening and how they're feeling.
I love how you said that. Thank you. You've answered it all. Like, okay, that I'm going to really reflect on the setting boundaries versus the over deliverance.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I tend to do that. I get super excited and I'm like, I'll do heaps of before work and after work and like highlight and like, I'm like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just, it's pretty cool.
And you know what? I mean, kudos to you. That's because you love what you do.
Yeah.
Right. And you're a helper. So there's nothing wrong with wanting to help people and support people. And there's nothing wrong with being excited about what you're doing and be passionate. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's just, you know, that overexcitement can sometimes steer us a little bit off track, and then down, you know, and then we get so far down the track and we look back and go, holy moly, what am I doing? I'm working double the amount of what I should. Exactly. Because you can do that with one client, but when you get 10, that's the where the problem comes up.
So it's setting and being okay with setting those boundaries. So starting with myself, obviously, and because I think will they come back? But she said to me last night she's been to 3 or 4 other counsellors and psychologists, and that she's gotten more out of me than, I don't know. That was nice to hear. My ego was like, didn't take it in a inflated way. I took it like, oh, okay, like that's interesting you say that, type of thing. So that was good feedback for me to know that I'm helping this particular person. So that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And because you are working and you're through the heart and you're very, very heart-centered, you know, that's, you know, it's totally okay to say that. You're not egotistical saying that, you know, my client had a positive experience. It's okay to say that. And you know why? Because it's true. You know, you're not bragging if it's true.
Like she said, you're so caring and like you're a good listener, and people say I'm attentive, and I'm like, okay, maybe I am doing the right thing, like holistic counselling. Like,
And you know what? At the end of the day, the answer is with your client.
The
only way to check in if you're doing, you know, doing a job or you know, if they're transforming, right? That's it. So and again, which is half up to us, you know. At the end of the day, the more I do this work, the more I realize that it's all about holding that space and doing our inner work so that we can be present with our clients more than it is anything else.
That's it. And like, I'm obviously seen to, like, since I started the course, I pay to see someone like a counsellor. Like usually it was weekly, then fortnightly, then 3 weekly, that type of thing. So I've been doing that since the get-go. Journaling. I still cried yesterday to figure some stuff out, and I then cried again today. So you know, I thought that I sorted it all out, and there's always like something more to look at from a different perspective. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it is.
Because, you know, without that, we'll stay stagnant. You know, growth is sad and painful sometimes. Otherwise, you know, if we're too comfortable and, you know, we get stuck in our comfort zones and we don't grow. So, but it doesn't mean we have to jump out of a parachute, or jump out of a plane without a parachute, right? Because you know, we don't know, without a parachute it's silly to jump off, right? But it means that we can just allow ourselves to stretch and grow a little bit more, right? So coming back to where you were in the beginning of jumping ship and 100% go into counseling, that might be that idea of jumping out of that airplane without a parachute, whilst your nursing is kind of your parachute. It's quite nice, right? You can keep it on, put it up, you can sail down, you know, have a safe flight.
It's got its positives, because I pick the days and times I work and which hospitals, and then I can ring and say, well, for that client I won't work with them again because of this and this. Like, I make sure that each client that I work for in nursing as well is compatible. That's interesting. I didn't realize I did that, but that's a bit weird. I just said that out loud. I just heard myself say that. So say if it's not a good mix, then I ring the organisation and say, if you can tell that organisation I won't come back, but in a good way. It's all like it's all positive. So say if I go there 3 to 5 times and it's the same thing, then I usually just ring my company and say, like, please don't send me to that part of the building.
Yeah.
So it's
setting boundaries.
Setting boundaries. It's
setting
all
boundaries.
It's all interlinked.
So can you feel that feeling when you were can you tune into that feeling that you just had now when you were talking about that?
I felt a little bit uncertain and a bit unsure, like, oh shit, should I be saying that? Am I allowed to do this? Is that naughty? Which then comes back to my inner child, my childhood. But because I'm not having to confront the actual person, and we do feedback forms, like stars, like how is the service, would you go back? I feel more comfortable because I'm gradually doing it. It's not that I haven't tried, I do it a few times, and if it's not compatible, I've now tuned in from learning from holistic counselling, tune into my body like I'm doing now. And I'm like, does this resonate with where I'm at the moment to continue to work here in this one ward out of 20 for this particular hospital? No, it doesn't resonate with me anymore. And then I talk to them, and then they talk to the person, and then,
bingo. Exactly right. And there's another little tool for you. So when you're in a situation and you might have a client that you don't, that might not be the right fit for you or something like that, it's setting up that middle, it doesn't have to be a person, but that thing to say, no, this doesn't work for me, or sorry, we can have any white excuse to say, no, this is not working for me right now, or we can refer. Again, it's learning how to set boundaries around that. So it's the same energy that you're talking about here.
Yeah.
Right?
I shouldn't laugh, but yes, it is. And it shows up in everything. This goes for relationships with people, like my partner, with family, with friends, like it's all interrelated, but it shows up in different ways, if you know what I mean. Similar, but So setting up that middle thing, like, which is bound to say, like, this isn't working for me. Maybe we could try this way. This is what we're going to do. And before this call, my throat chakra, because I'm into energies and intuition, my throat chakra was like, I almost couldn't talk. And I'm like, what's going on? And I think I was a little bit like, oh no, what's going to come up today? Like, oh no, I'm getting coached by Madelaine. Oh no, I've got to have all my shit together. But I'm like, oh, stuff it. I'll wear my beanie. Like, it'll be fine. It'll protect me.
How boring if you would have all your shit together. Come on. This would be just a very boring conversation. Right? That's some messiness that creates the variety of life, right? You love variety, right?
Yeah, I do love variety.
Yeah. The variety of you. It's all of you. Sad, happy, upset, anger, whatever, right? It's who you are. And you're wearing those emotions on your sleeve. That's okay, right? That's beautiful. So I honor you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Really, yeah.
Thank you so much.
So, what's your insight for today? What's your main insight?
My main insights are to respect myself and my boundaries, and also to speak my truth, like, in an authentic way. So from a place of, I guess, love, but also like not worrying what the outcome will be. So if the client or the person, so if it's professional, then if the client doesn't come back, then that's okay. So knowing that it's okay. Like, if they say yes or no, this isn't for me, then I respect and honor that, and I refer them. So, and what else? Those are probably my main 2 insights. To respect myself and my boundaries, and to speak my truth from an authentic love, like from the heart.
And we could take this further and go into how to set boundaries and all that stuff, but my sense is that you don't even need that, because you know how to do that. You just needed permission.
Yeah, the permission to do it. But it's okay. It's okay to have boundaries. You can still love what you do and be good at it, and not like overexpand your like time. Because I wasn't getting tired with this client. Like I was wide awake and like had a long day, and I'm like, I was there, super present, and I'm like, oh, I could do this for another hour. But then I missed out on, I think, other things like afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's good habits to get into. Reminding yourself that, you know, could I do this if I had another 10 clients?
No. It's okay that it's the one at the moment, but yeah.
So you got time to practice this, to get into the 1 hour, because you've got one client, you might have two, and it might be okay. But by the time you have 3-4 clients, you might want to you might want to be down to that 1 hour, right? Because then you're doing 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours instead of that one that turned into 2 hours, you know. So this is you've got a bit of time, you got a bit of leeway here. You can practice that. You don't have to get it perfectly right, but you might get down to just, you know, hour 15 next time, and if you do, that's great. If you get down to an hour, that's good too, you know. Practice and feel into the energy, because you're good at that, right? That's what you do. Feel into the energy of it. Pick up on it when it's that time. This is, now we're here. It's on. After a while you'll notice, I know it's gone. Like I knew when it was half an hour before. I just knew because we were there, and then I thought we got some more time, there's more here, so we can do the other 15, right? And now it's 15:15, so there you go. So you can feel into the energy of it. You can feel that you're coming to the end of the session.
That's so true, because the client had even said to me, oh, was that hard for you to tell me that? And I lied, and I didn't mean to, but I was like, oh, no, I wanted to wait for the, no, it was okay. I just wanted to make sure I said it at the right time. That was sort of the energy. I don't know if that was the exact wording, but I knew energetically at the start that she looked emotional, or like energetically. So that was why I didn't do it at the start of the session. I did it at the end, because I sort of feel into what each client needs, and I'm like, I'll allow her to say what she wants, and then I'll talk at the end of the session. You know how you wait for the timing sometimes. So
and here's another thing with going over time. It's also about respecting your client's time, because they might not want to be there for more than an hour. They might have other appointments.
That's a good idea. She did say, but it would be different for each client, but she did say, oh, like, thank you so much for taking this extra time. You're a really good counsellor. And then I thought, in my head, I'm like, does that mean that I do this all the time? Like in my head afterwards. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So she didn't seem upset. She seemed pleased that she had that extra time.
Absolutely. And I'm sure she did. I'm sure she took it and went, oh my gosh, I just got like heaps more time, which is fantastic. And but again, for ourselves, it's actually good practice to remember, it's not just me wanting to overgive, like it's my over delivery, but also I've got to respect my client's time. Because they get lost in time sometimes. When we work with a client, you can get very lost in time, and all of a sudden you don't even know what time it is, and an hour and a half can go. So it's respecting your client's time too. They can sometimes help us to kind of go, right, I need to do the hour, you know, and that's what they get. So it's not just about me, it's about them too, and respecting their time.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I like that, because I like the equality, like the value of equality, where things are fair, which is a weird concept. I'm still working that one out. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah.
Beautiful. Good for now.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I am going to do a lot of reflection on this. And like you always say, it's the little steps. So yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your time and energy today.
Thank you.